Welcome everybody. In today's video, we're going to learn how to import data and process batches in Viewpoint. Processing batches and importing the data to process a batch is a primary and preferred method of how Viewpoint moves their data into the system. So we're going to do this from EMPro, and our prime example at the moment is going to be the equipment meter reading system. And so if we click on that in EMPro, every week the job site's supposed to do meter readings on the equipment they have on the site. Once they do the meter readings, this comes into our system and will show up on the screen right here. The proper person can manage the hour readings or the mileage readings, and then they can import that and process the batch up into Viewpoint. So we're always current on our hour reader readings and our mileage readings. So we'll begin. I went over to Flowfinity and I took one record and added 1 hour to one of the current pieces of equipment. And so let's go see what that is here in a second. And so every night the system will go through and it will automatically look at Flowfinity and bring the data over to EMPro. And then in the morning when you come around, if I close this down and reopen it, it should have my one record showing for the generator that I had my new hour meter reading. And you can see that I did it here. And I took that reading on the 18th and it was 11,147 hours. Now up here at the top we can see from Viewpoint, the last meter reading was 11,146. And that was 253 days ago. So the job site hasn't been keeping up on this one, but hopefully with this system and we will keep more up to date. So I just added an hour because that shouldn't hurt anything. And so we could change this hour reading. So we're going to make sure this data is right. We want to select it. And right now this was at the project down at the Jeff City River access. And so if everything's okay, you're just going to submit your meter readings and you can press this button. We're going to create a what Viewpoint calls a CSV file, which is a comma delimited file. And you push it. It says, do you really want to create a batch? And you say yes. Now this just creates the batch. We should still have to process it over in Viewpoint. So we say okay. And then what should happen is the batch is automatically sent to Viewpoint. Viewpoint will automatically pick it up and import it and have it there for you to process. The problem being, it seems like it only does this half the time. And so the automatic import sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. You will get an email that says, hey, it failed or it succeeded. If it succeeded, you don't have to do the import part. If it didn't succeed, you will need to do the import part. So we're going to bring over our file directory. On all the batches that we're going to process, whether it's meter readings or other things, we keep those files over on the SQL prod server in a directory called auto imports. And so in this particular instance, we're doing meter readings, and so it's equipment meters. And by pressing this CSV file over here, we created a file called meterreadings.txt. Now if I'm to edit that, I'll just see what's in it. What was in it was the date, the piece of equipment, which was our 4632, and the meter reading value that was there. And so this is going to be imported into Viewpoint at this time. Now the automatic part of it, if Viewpoint works correctly, we'll come over, look at this in the next few minutes, and we'll actually do something with it. It's going to try to import it, and it's either going to be successful or it's not going to be successful. And so let's give it a moment and see what it does. So we waited a few minutes, and as you can see, our file meter readings is gone now. Was it successful or wasn't it successful? An email's been sent to that fact, but we can just look right here. If it was successful, it sends it to the archive directory, and we had our initial copy of the file here, and then as each file with the same name comes around, it gives it a number on whether it's successful or not. We can tell that, wow, look here, meter readings number 13, I can edit it, there's one, it was successful, that's great. We're not going to have to import this file. If it was a failure, it saves it in the error file. Now, this one came around, there's 14 of them so far, they've been error, different dates. Periodically I'm going to come in and clean this out so we won't have so many of them. But if I look at this one, it failed, that was probably earlier today, and it didn't have any records in it. And so that wasn't a good one. So, but in this particular instance for our one record, it was imported. Now we're going to pretend like it didn't work and do the import automatically. So we'll close this, and I'll jump on over to Viewpoint. So in Viewpoint, if it was successful, we can go to Programs, Equipment Management Programs. We can go to Batch Process, and we can look at the month, we can look at the batch, and we can see here there's two batches. This is the one that just came at us. I did one yesterday, but it'll say VS Auto Imports, and that is the batch we can process. So we can validate it, and then we can preview it, and it's preparing the report. And as you can see, here's our meter reading, and this was the report, so it was good. To process it, all we have to do is say post. Once it's posted, it'll take it out of our EM meters over here. It'll come off this list. Until it's been processed, it will not come off the list because EMPro doesn't know that it has been processed yet because it's not in the Viewpoint. So we'll go back now and redo exactly what we've done already and pretend like the batch failed. Okay, so if the batch failed, we need to come over to Imports, Programs, and we need to actually import it ourselves. This pops up this nice little window. It says give it an ID. This one comes up with just the ID of Mark 1. I'll say Mark's test import. It says to use a template. We always use a template, and there's all kinds of templates out there, but for meter readings we're going to use the OCCI EMMR template. Then we're going to browse for our file. As we showed earlier, we go to //SQL prod. Let me spell it right. We go to the auto imports, equipment meter, and we go to the error file. And so that would be your latest one, would be the error. We did know that ours made it, so we know that our latest one is actually right here. And so that's the one that made it, but we're going to pretend like it didn't. And so you just pick the file and you say execute. It goes through a little ritual here and says everything's okay. And that's all we can do on this screen. If it said error, then we'd have to figure out what's wrong with the file. It normally doesn't, so it goes on through. Then we need to upload the file to Viewpoint once it's been imported. We hit upload. And it says what do you want to upload? And we're saying Mark's test import. We could hit F4 and look at the list, and here's some other imports that have been imported in the past that have not been uploaded. And so we're going to do the one we were doing, and we're going to say upload. It says upload successful. Gives us a little screen that says the source was EMPro, and it gave us a new batch ID, 328, created on today's date of 7/18. And we can just close that, and we can close that. Now we imported and we uploaded to Viewpoint. This is what the automatic process does when it drops that file in the directory. And if it's successful, it does those two things. Since we're pretending like it wasn't successful, we manually have to import, we manually have to upload. Now, now we're back to equipment management. We can go to programs and process our batch. If we look at it, go to the batch ID. Remember our batch ID was 328. Look at the list, and there's our little batch, 328, ready to be imported. And we can validate it. Validate's okay. We can preview it. And again, right there, that's where it comes back in, and it's our generator. Last meter reading I put in, and we could just hit post, and it would post out, and everything would be great. So let's do that now, and we'll see what happens. So I posted the batch, and now when we come back to the meter batch setup, the record's gone, and we don't need to update the mileage or read anything. And so next week, when the job site reads the meters again, we'll start this process all over. Okay, so what did we learn? In any of the processes, when we have to batch or import into Viewpoint, we learned that those batch files are going to be saved on SQL Prod under the Auto Imports directory, in the directory that's important. Right now, we're just really using equipment meter readings. The meter readings will either be successful and be in the archive directory by the dates, or they'll be in the error directory by the dates. If we need to import, we'll need to import if it's on the error directory. We won't need to do anything to it if it's in the archive directory as far as importing goes. And then when we're in the Viewpoint itself, we always have to process the batch. That can't be automated. And so the batch is run from equipment management programs, EM batch process. We just go run a batch there, validate and post. And if we had to import, we go from import programs. We first import it, and we import our file. We always know that it's up here, it's SQL Prod, Auto Imports, Equipment Master, Error. We just import it, and then we have to upload it. Once we upload it, and Viewpoint will give us our file names automatically, or we can type it in on our own. And so importing and uploading is the automated part of Viewpoint if the automation works, and the batch processing is the process we always have to do no matter what. So I hope this has been helpful on where you find your files and how they work, and good luck with that.